It's all going down. Tyrone Bowman live. Welcome to the program, everybody. Regardless of wherever you're viewing from or will be viewing from on the rebroadcast of the program, and those of you that'll catch it live, welcome to the program. There's a lot happening in the nation, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to be talking about the majority of it. It's important that we put everything into perspective when addressing issues. Oftentimes, individuals get emotional about issues, but they don't have substantive facts to support and back up what they're saying with certifiable evidence. So when you turn into Tyrone Bowman Live, this is a information educational program. Extremely informative. Some days we're detailed, some days we're not. On the weekends, I try to keep it a little light. I said I try. Sometimes I don't succeed. But today's topic, I'm going to get right into it. Government reopening analysis. What's happening, Bobby? A warning to Democrats. This is the title of the program for today. A government reopening analysis, a warning to Democrats. When you compromise in one thing, eventually you're going to start compromising in everything. One of my favorite books that I read continuously is The Art of War by Sun Tzu. And one of the main strategic or stratagems of that book is clear and simple. You never allow your enemy or enemies to have advantage over you. Because once your enemy or enemies get an advantage over you, they will take advantage of you and they will destroy you and exploit all your weaknesses. And I'm going to talk about the Democrats along that line in a few moments. The article that I'm using as my foundation to talk to you today, this is from the Wall Street Journal. The headline reads, quote, House set to vote to end shutdown despite late controversy. The bill would fund government into January after record-length impasses, while provisions on potential $500,000 payments to senators angers some lawmakers. This article for the Wall Street Journal was written by, I'd like to give everybody their credit, by Richard Rubin, Olivia Beavers, and Kathy Farik. So that's Richard Rubin, Olivia Beavers, and Kathy Farik. So it's good to give credit to the sources that one uses instead of trying to pretend that this is something that's original. No, I derive a lot of information from a lot of different sources, a lot of different news sites, outlets, and agencies. And I also use videos from different programs as well. And when I do that, it's not to make money. It's for the purposes of education and information. Now, let's get down to it because I've got a lot of ground to cover. I'm upset with some of the leaders within the Democratic Party. So let's talk about this article. Quote, the GOP, or I call them the MAGA GOP, led House was set to approve a spending package late Wednesday that reopens the government after a record-length shutdown, with the measure expected to overcome last-minute bipartisan complaints about a provision offering potentially lucrative payouts to some Republican senators. The package extends funding for the federal government through January 30 and includes 4-year funding for the Agriculture Department, military construction, and the legislative branch. The bill also includes language guaranteeing the reversal of federal layoffs initiated by the Trump administration, the shutdown, and a moratorium on future cuts. Well, let's start to rip this to pieces. Why do the senators need a lucrative, substantial payout? For what purpose? All they did was play the role of the obstructionists and shut the nation down. That is one of the biggest problems now. These political profiteers are only concerned about padding their bank accounts and making money by exploiting the least among us. It is not about representation for the American people. It's about satisfying their investors, satisfying their donors, satisfying the lobbyists who are paid untold millions of dollars because they represent companies who want their agenda promoted at all cost, and they want their programs approved at all costs. So why are they offering potentially lucrative payouts to some Republicans? For what part? For what purpose? They don't deserve it. Why should they be rewarded for wanting to gut and eradicate Medicaid and Medicare? Why should they be rewarded for not allowing SNAP benefits to reach much needed households before Thanksgiving? Why should they be rewarded for wanting health care to be virtually eliminated and downsized to virtually nothing for over 70 plus million Americans? This is one of the main reasons why individuals had better pay attention. Democrats, let me start warning you right here, right now. You don't have time to bask in the victories that occurred during this past election day cycle. You don't have time to celebrate. You don't have time to sit back and kick up your heels just because Sohn Mandami was elected mayor of New York City. He already has 100,000 hurdles, so to speak, that he must overcome already. Individuals talking about, well, we want to leave New York. New York is going to be unsafe. We have to hurry up and get out of here. You know, that's the same thing they said when they had the first black mayor in New York. So that's the problem. You don't have time to rest on your laurels. And why is it that some of these pathetic, weak Democratic leaders went along with these obstructionating Republicans to reopen the government? For what purpose? And what are you getting out of it? Nothing. You know what you're showing? You're showing that you're weak. You're showing that you're pathetic. Going into the midterm elections, you all think that Donald Trump and his administration are playing with you all. The man is not playing. They are determined to retain the House. They are determined to retain the Senate. They are determined to populate the judicial aspect of our nation with many Republican judges they possibly can. You know, there's a video circulating, I'm going to find it and put it on here, by Steve Bannon. He was mostly upset. He said that if the Democrats win the midterm elections, that we are going to go to jail, he said, including himself. So you all are playing checkers while the Trump administration is playing chess. Project 2025 is real. It was architecturally designed for the purpose to do exactly what it is doing now. And Hakeem Jeffries, he can't be out there by himself. Jasmine Crockett can't be out there by himself. You know what you need in the Democratic Party? You need some young, zealous, strong men and women to lead this Democratic Party into the next century. Because if you don't, the Democratic Party will continue to lose election after election after election. And if you think that they're not going to pull out every imaginable trick under the sun, under the guise of wanting to, quote unquote, protect America, to hang on and maintain power during the midterms, you are deluding yourself. You might as well go ahead down to Macy's and you might as well apply for the job of Santa Claus this coming season, because you got your priorities mixed up. You're in a war. Though it may be a political war, you're still in a war. You better learn how to get your mind strategically aligned to defeat your enemies in the upcoming midterm elections. This is not the time to rest on your laurels. This is not the time to fall back. This is not the time to party. This is not the time to celebrate. Keep your focus on the agenda. The agenda is the economy. The agenda is immigration. The agenda is health care. The agenda is Medicaid and Medicare. The agenda is dealing with hunger and homelessness in America. The agenda is making sure that Obamacare, or the Affordable Health Care Act, is made available for men and women who really need it. The agenda is the agricultural industry. The agenda is the economy. Food, gas. That's the agenda. And if you sit around and play this game, you are going to lose. There is no bipartisanship going on in Washington. It's either you or them. That's it. Either see it their way or it's not going to be anyway. Back to the article. So, according to this article, it claims that the bill also includes language guaranteeing the reversal of federal layoffs initiated by the Trump administration during the shutdown. You let them retain the House during the midterms in 2026, and they're going to show you that the federal layoffs are going to continue. You let them retain massive power like they have right now, and that so-called moratorium on future cuts, ain't happening. The House voters coming days after a band of senators who caucus with the Democrats broke with the party in that chamber to advance a legislative package to reopen the government. What do you mean a band of senators who caucus with the Democrats broke with the party in that chamber? No, they're compromisers. They're weak. They're pathetic. You know, oftentimes I ask this question: what type of dirt do they have on you people in Washington, D.C., that you can't vote your conscience? And where is the reluctant Senator John Fetterman? You have been proven to be a pathetic individual representing Pennsylvania as a senator. They need to vote you out of office because you are a turncoat, sir. You don't represent Pennsylvanians. You don't advocate for Pennsylvania. You don't speak for Pennsylvanians. You have deserted the very people who sent you to Washington, D.C. When Oz, quote unquote, Dr. Oz, who's not a part of the Trump administration, when he almost defeated you, it was the people who rallied together to make sure that you became the senator. And what have you done? You are MIA. You are missing in action. We don't see you. We don't hear from you. You don't hold any press conferences. You don't do anything but complain about your own party. Turncoat. That's what you are. So don't tell people in Pennsylvania that you're their senator. Listen up, Pennsylvanians. Unelect John Fetterman as your senator. Do not vote for him again. Because if you do, you're going to be sadly mistaken. He is pathetic. He is inept. He is whining some, and all he does is complain about his own party. Then you might as well go over there and become a MAGA Republican and see how well that works out for you. Senate Democrats had insisted for more than a month that any deal to reopen the government includes an extension of Affordable Care Act subsidies. It's not going to happen. Did you get it? Did you get that guarantee? No, you did not. And the reason why you didn't get that guarantee, because they have no intent on saving the Affordable Care Act subsidies. It's going to be gutted down to nothing. How can you all be so silly and gullible to just believe anything that you hear? What gullibility on the part of these so-called educated, intelligent minds who went to Washington, D.C. to advocate, to represent their states? What about standing your ground? You were supposed to stand your ground against all odds. But no, you caved in. And the reason why you caved in thinking that you could negotiate a deal that was going to benefit you all, but it's not. So that's going to be a big fight. So listen, key word is some. Some Republicans were sympathetic to the demands because more than 20 million Americans get the tax credits to lower the cost of their health plans and are set to see their premiums rise sharply next year. President Trump and GOP leaders said, however, that they would only negotiate after the government was reopened. Well, once the government reopens, you'll see. Oh, it's going to be a negotiation, but not the kind that you want, and not the kind of guarantees and safety nets put in place that you want. It's going to be based upon their terms, their lobbying, their way. And they'll tell you how silly you were to cave in. You know what they're going to tell you? You're weak. You're pathetic. We knew you would cave in. That's why we went on vacation. That's why we had parties. That's why we were out celebrating. Because we knew that you all were going to cave in eventually. You know, when I was growing up in the hardcore neighborhood where I grew up in, I had to fight a whole lot. Win to draw. You get in the fight and you let your enemy know you're not going to bully me. I have never seen such conciliatory attitudes in politics like I'm seeing from these Democrats. You mealy mouth, you're weak, you want to talk softly, act softly, walk softly. Meanwhile, the MAGA Republicans are all across the nation voicing their opinions, would be they good, bad, or indifferent. They're hollering, they're screaming, they're raising all kind of chaos night and day and night on every platform that they have, from the medium of radio to that network over there, the bigoted and racist network. They're always criticizing, judging, condemning, and destroying the Democratic Party every chance they get. And you want to try to work with them. You want to try to sit down and be their friend. You want to be their pal. You want to come to their luncheons and their dinners. Don't you know they can't stand you? They can't stand anything about you, and you still keep trying to be friends with a bunch of bullies. How are you going to be friends with a bunch of bullies when they're the ones in the playground taking your lunch? They're taking your lunch money. They're taking your snack money. They're taking your favorite seat where you sit at. If you're going to be involved in the game of politics, be a real man, be a real woman, and stand up for the constituency that voted for you in the first place, and stop allowing yourself to be so quick to do what your adversaries want. The guarantees should have been put in place before you decided to go along with reopening the government. The warning, and I'm going to warn you again, just like I warned you all during the presidential campaign, stop taking Donald Trump lightly, and you're taking him lightly again because you think that you got the midterm elections won, and the midterm elections haven't even occurred yet. You don't have anything won. It's not over until it's over. They're not playing games. They are for real. This is a do or die situation, and they are determined to retain power at all costs. And what are you determined to do? You want to hold hands and sing Kumbaya? This ain't church. This is not an old-fashioned religious gospel camp meeting. This is political war. You don't have any frenemies in politics. You either swim with the sharks or you get eaten by the sharks. How do you think people rise to power? Because the people who really have the power, you never see them, you never hear them. All they do is bankroll their candidates. That's what the book, The Appeal, by John Grisham is about. How the corporation large, it's just fictitious, of course, could be based upon actual events. A big corporation lost a major verdict, and they were determined that they were going to buy a Supreme Court justice, and they sought out and they found a young individual that they could manipulate. They bankrolled him and made him their next Supreme Court justice. And for the purpose of putting him there so he could overturn the judgment when he got it sent to his when he came before the Supreme Court. So you still think this is a game, Democrats? You still want to sing Kumbaya? You still want to hold hands? You still want to be mealy mouth when you come before the camera? You still want to still act like that you're sensible? Or are you going to put on your war clothes and get into war and win the way that you have to win? Stop taking your enemies for granted. Just stop it. Somebody has to talk to y'all directly, because you don't seem to get it in the caucuses. You don't seem to get it behind closed doors. You don't seem to get it with civility. So somebody like me has to tell you, stop being stupid. You don't sit down at the table with a bunch of bullies and think they're not going to bully you. Now, while Republicans have a 53-47 majority, Senate rules require 60 votes to advance most legislation. And some of you dumb Democrats are going to give them what they asked for. And what are you going to get in return? Nothing. You're going to get nothing in return. I can see the political ads coming out now from the PACs, from the political action committees. We prove them wrong. We showed those Democrats how to run a nation. They were the obstructionists. They were responsible for the government shutdown. They were responsible for the misery of people not getting their SNAP benefits. They were responsible for the Health Care Act being gutted. Oh, they're going to lie and lie and lie and lie and lie and lie and lie, while you all want to sit around and play games. Republicans have a thin margin in the House, and most Democrats are set to oppose the measure. House Speaker Mike Johnson, representative from Louisiana, has expressed confidence that the measure will pass. See, Johnson says, well, the fix is already in. Oh, we got them. They're going to go along with it. They're going to do what we want. In a good sign for GOP leadership, the White House Freedom Caucus backed the bill, praising the funding pitch in the memo as a, quote, listen, total win for HFC, conservative leadership and messaging. What did I just tell you? A total win for HFC, conservative leadership and messaging. There's nothing conservative about the MAGA GOP. They're going to use this as a talking point during the midterm elections. And you gave it to them. You dummy, you. Oh, a bunch of dummies in the Democratic Party. I just got to tell you point blank. What is wrong with y'all? Republicans are not nice, they're not civil, they're unruly. In most instances, they're ungodly, they're heathenistic. They raise hell all day and all night, and they tell you we're never going to go along with anything that the Democratic caucus wants. Never. And yet you sit down. You make videos on Instagram and TikTok. Why don't you get before your constituency? Get on a freaking bus and have a tour around the country. Roll up your sleeves, loosen up those ties. Talk to your constituents. Rev up your base. Get your financial war chest on, and you better gear up for the fight of your life next year, because they're going to bring it, and they're going to bring it hard. Some of my best English, I said they're going to bring it, and they're going to bring it hard. They are out for blood. They're like a bunch of sharks in the water. They're out for blood, and they want to win at all cost. They don't think about your mannerisms. They're not going to be thinking about how civil you're trying to be. They're out to get you. Now, Representative Victoria Sparks, a Republican from Indiana, who was one of two GOP lawmakers to vote against the House stopgap bill in September, said she would vote in favor of this one. Of course, because it's easy for her to vote for it now. House Democratic leaders are pressuring members to oppose the bill, and most are expected to hold the line, citing anger over the lack of health care provisions. How about this? Any member who goes against the caucusing of the Democratic Party, why don't you launch a campaign to get them out of office and replace them with somebody that are going to do what has to be done to the advancement and for the cause of the Democratic Party? That's what Republicans are doing. Anybody who does not go along with messaging that the Republicans have to say, what do? They eviscerate them. They lambast them in the press. They humiliate them, they shame them, they call them all kinds of names, and they oppose them at every turn and every step of the way. Come on, Democrats, get your act together. You better learn something from this last election that you lost. Learn something, seriously. Learn from the last presidential election that the Democratic Party lost. You lost in 2016, and you lost this last one. I told you all before, Trump's campaign, during the presidential campaign, they outsmarted you, they outwitted you, they outspent you, they outorganized the Democrats, and they were ready for the fight. Their base was raging, their base was angry, their base was hateful, their base was insulting and demeaning, and it fueled them to an election victory. All the talk about the insurrection that occurred, they didn't care about that stuff. That stuff didn't matter with them. Stop being civil. Stop being conciliatory. Stop trying to shake hands with people who hate you, loathe you, and despise you. That's why I'm telling you, I can never be a politician because I would not play fair. I don't care if I was a Republican or Democrat. If I was a Republican, I would destroy the Democrats. If I was a Democrat, I would destroy the Republicans. If I was an independent, I'm coming for both parties. Full throttle from day one. From the very launch of the campaign, I wanted to be made known. If this is hypothetically, if I'm going to run for something, I'm going to win. That's it. There is no plan B. There is no plan C. There is no plan D. Got one plan. Plan A. Win. All the way. That's how you got to play the game. And I'm going to tell you one reason why I admire President Trump, because the man knows what he wants. He sets his mind to get it, and he gets it. What are you Democrats going to do? What are you going to do? Wake up. This is not a game. Wake up. Told you all before, if you don't know how to get your message across, you need to hire somebody as your spokesperson to get it across for you. Heck, I don't care who I'm a spokesperson for, as long as the money's right. You know, I'm a broadcaster. I do what has to be done. The House Democratic leaders are angry over healthcare provisions. Some possible defectors include Representatives Jared Golden of Maine, who previously voted for the House-passed version in September. You pathetic wimp. And Representative Henry Saylor of Texas. That's what you get for opposing your party. And the late wrinkle House lawmakers took issue with a provision that allows senators to seek damages of $500,000 if federal investigators collect their phone records without their knowledge as part of an investigation. What the Sam Hill? They want compensatory damages of $500,000 if their phone records are sequestered without their knowledge. They do that to everyday people every day, going to people's records and files and everything. No one suffers punitive actions because of that. The provision is seen as designed to help 8 senators whose records were obtained as part of former special counsel Jack Smith's probe into Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Look, y'all, it's time to get beyond this. Jack Smith is no longer in power. It's already been proven. Anybody who had something to do with what went on, they've already been pardoned, and many more people will be pardoned. What are these senators afraid of? What are they trying to hide? What are they running from? And you want $500,000 in compensatory damages. No, that money is not for compensatory damages. You want money to legally have so you can use it for your own personal use. Democrats and Republicans alike attacked it, but several GOP lawmakers indicated they didn't want their objections to derail reopening the government. Instead, would try to kill the provision with separate legislation afterwards. Ain't that nothing? So you all really don't want the government reopened. You want it reopened, but you don't want there to be any opposition whatsoever. So you want to sneakily say, you know what we'll do? We'll come back at this another time. Let's just get the government reopened so it can look like we're the good guys. We're the ones riding on the white horse. We got on the white clothes on the white horse, and the Democrats are riding on the black horse because, everything that's black is evil. Everything that's black is no good. Everything that's black is dirty. They got on the black clothes. They on the black horse. We come on the white horse. And everything that's white is pure. It's nice and wonderful. Really? Why do they call it black tea then? Why do they call it black tea? Get it together. Wake up. Quote, that provision needs to get fixed, Representative Chip Roy from Texas said Tuesday during the House Rules Committee meeting. I don't care. The shutdown, which began October 1, prolonged hundreds of thousands of federal workers and required others to work without immediate paychecks. Who was the causation of the governmental shutdown? The Republicans, the MAGA obstructionist Republicans. They caused it. I don't care if they don't want to own it, try to run away from it. They caused the shutdown to begin with, and then they blamed it on the Democrats, thinking that the Democrats would cave in 1 or 2 days and do what they wanted. The lapse in funding led to delayed flights and prevented the release of important economic data. Really? It also threatened food benefits for millions of households, closed museums, limited national park access, and prevented people from resolving tax questions with the Internal Revenue Service. Whose fault was it then? The senators still got paid. Whose fault was it? They were still out laughing and talking and partying and doing any and everything that they wanted to do. Pausing government spending doesn't end up. Let me get back to the SNAP benefit thing for a minute. The only people who suffered during this shutdown were people in America that are not associated with politics. Everyday working people. Everyday people who depended upon their Medicaid and Medicare. Everyday seniors who went without things of necessity. People got fired from their jobs. People lost their homes. Businesses foreclosed. Houses foreclosed. Homelessness is at an all-time high, and all people can talk about is silly stuff. Where's the help for the homeless? Where is the help for those that are homeless? Where is the allocation of funds for those who were once respectable people in society, and because of a string or run of quote unquote bad luck, they came into some serious money problems? Where's the help for them? Where's the bailout for them? Like they have the corporate welfare bailouts for CEOs who are making more than $50 million a year. Where's the help for everyday working men and women and for single parent households? Where is the help for the people down in the southern part of the nation who are suffering greatly? You can try to put on a happy face and a smile all you want. People are hurting. I've seen the food lines. I've seen the videos. I've seen people take off their MAGA hats when they get into the food lines to get a food basket or a food bag. This nation is hurting. And this is some real stuff going on in this nation. There's a strong one in the Democrats. Stop monkeying around. Don't you start playing with people's lives. You have a chance to win it all, but you're going to blow it all if you keep messing around with MAGA. MAGA does not like you. MAGA is not your friend. They're not your buddy. They're not your pal. They want to destroy you. and you trying to get along with them. I don't get along with none of my enemies. I don't care. I don't care about them. Ask me if I care about the people who framed me, sat in court and put their hands on the Bible and told pathetic, unfounded lies. Ask me if I care about them. I don't give a damn about them. Yes, that's right. I said it. I could care less. They mean nothing to me. Stop trying to get along with your enemies. Politics is not church. Politics is a dirty, ruthless, ungodly game. It's the have versus the have-nots. It's the rich versus the poor. It's the powerful versus the powerless. Even millionaires are railed against from the billionaires. It's about certain individuals want to monopolize total power and control. Pausing government spending doesn't end up saving money for the government. A bipartisan 2019 Senate report found that shutdowns caused the U.S. to spend more than $300 million on extra administrative work, lost revenue, and late fees. Also, while the White House fired thousands of workers during the shutdown, thousands of workers were fired during the shutdown. The legislation funding the government requires that they be rehired. Federal workers, whether they were on the job or not, will get back pay. We'll see if that happens. Many times the courts have to intervene. The end of the federal government shutdown will leave behind a modest but a real scar on the U.S. economy. The economy has already been faltering and teetering up and down like a seesaw all over the place, because too many individuals think game. And let me tell some of you folk are in the comment section something. You all just go from one platform to another, spewing your verbiage here and there and everywhere, like a dog pissing on every fire hydrant that they see, sniffing. But when it comes to your town, your family, your state, your city, and your relatives, when they get fired from their jobs, when they get discriminated against because of ageism, when they're told they're too old to work in the workplace, when they tell your daughter that you know is qualified above some men that she is not qualified enough, and they give the job to a guy instead, then you're going to be upset. Then you're going to want to retaliate. When your uncle or your aunt or your auntie, whatever term you use, when they can't pay their light bill, their gas bill, their electric bill, when their SSI check is gutted and cut down to nothing, when their food stamps are gutted and cut down to nothing, when they can no longer afford their medications because the medications are too high, then you're going to complain. And it's going to be too late. Because when you had an opportunity to do what was right, you chose not to. And I'll close by saying this. The scar on the U.S. economy is real. And you know who's only profiting? I'm done reading this article. I don't want to read anything else from the Wall Street Journal. You know who's going to profit from it? The politicians, the shareholders, the investors, those who make the laws. And you know what they do when they leave office? They write books. They go on speaking tours. They collect their hefty severance packages and their hefty SSI checks. They start nonprofit organizations because they know nonprofit does not necessarily mean that you can't make a profit. They all start nonprofit organizations or political action committees, or they become lobbyists because they wrote the laws and they know how the laws are supposed to be enacted. Wake up, Democrats. Let this be a powerful warning to you. Do not sit back and fall back and rest on this past victory. Do not think that the game is over. Let the games begin. And I'm going to tell you this. It's called, quote, wag the dog, end quote. You better watch the movie. Never surrender. Never quit.